Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Bit of a quick one here today because with Season 5 Reloaded, usually with any given update, there's the standard patch notes that we of course went through. We broke all those down, the weapon buffs, changes, all sorts of stuff like that. There's also a bunch of other hidden changes and secret updates. I don't know why it is that it's like this, but oftentimes there's a lot of changes that they don't include in the patch notes. And one of them actually now directly reflects the close range meta, and it was not something that was ever acknowledged, and you wouldn't really know about it unless of course you're watching a video like this or you went and investigated for yourself. And it's not going to be some like game breaking thing that's going to make something ridiculously broken or overpowered, but it could change the way you may approach some of your setups, in particular for close range and especially for sniper support. So I want to start focus here on the new 9mm Damon pistol. And as we get into this discussion, quick reminder, if you guys are new here, every single day I got you covered with everything you need to know about Call of Duty, news, updates, meta breakdowns like this. If it has to do with COD, you'll find it here, so feel free to hit that subscribe button. And if you guys enjoy this video, if you find it helpful, do me a favor, drop a like on it, would be really appreciated. But when you look at the Damon here, if you go through and you level it up, for one, right now it is bugged. When you hit max rank, it doesn't actually unlock a Kimbo. That's a different glitch. It basically skips over level 20, which you need to actually unlock this, which is unfortunate. But what we care about here is the ammo, because when you go through here, you actually get something brand new to the Warzone meta with the Damon pistol, and that is the 9mm high velocity ammo. And this, once you unlock it, actually ends up becoming a universal detachment, just like the various other ammo options that we have in the game. And we see the same deal happen a lot with various lasers, suppressors, optics, things of that nature. And essentially what this does is really nothing for the pistol category. Like, this is not important for the Damon itself at all. What this is important for, though, is the SMGs. If you go through and you look at the SMGs now, you can see which ones run 9mm. Not the Vel, the Lockman sub does have it though. MX9 doesn't have it. The Vaznev does have it. Hurricane doesn't, Minibok doesn't, Bass P, P90, so on and so forth. Like, you can see the ammo types that each one has. And what's really cool here is that if you go in and actually look at one of the 9mm SMGs, like for instance, if we throw on the Vaznev here, and we go to the Gunsmith and we go into that ammo now, lo and behold, what do we have new here as well? 9mm high velocity. Now, some of these SMGs, in particular the MP5, which, obviously is going to be a main one right now because it's like a top tier SMG. The Vaznev is not far behind. You can now throw this on and it turns these SMGs into a much more competitive sniper support simply because of how the weapons are going to feel with that increased velocity. Something the subs significantly lack versus some of the assault rifles that are those sniper support metas and the close range metas like the Chimera, the 74U, the Razorback, the Avancer, is that the rifles all have a much better base velocity for the most part. And when you stack high velocity on those, it obviously becomes even better, leaving the subs in the dust. And when you start to fight at 20, 30, 40 meters, even though that's not that far out, the SMG's velocity just really starts to feel a little bit less consistent, and that hit reg is a lot less more reliable, I guess you could say, and oftentimes you might lose fights because of that. Well, now that you have this option on a couple of the SMGs, like I said, it's on the Vaznev here, and if I were to go to the MP5 as well, it's also here as well at the 9mm velocity, so it helps out there too. And I mean, this does change up the game a little bit when it comes to potential sniper support builds. Like for instance, on my ranks play class setup that I've been running, I'm now running this MP5 build built for sniper support, and I've actually really liked the feel of this. You obviously have the mobility of an SMG, which is so huge, versus a rifle, which are a lot heavier, a lot more bogged down, and you actually have some competition in that mid-range now with that better feeling velocity there. Like I said, before this was an update, you couldn't really use these in that mid-range because they just did not compete at all with snipers. This definitely changes things up, and the stats actually reflect that. So if I go into sim.gg here, we can actually build out a couple of things. So if I were to look at the Chimera, for instance, you might want to note that this is one that does not have high velocity on it. So the only way you're getting velo is using suppressors or barrels or whatnot. We also obviously have the Avancer, which is a good one. And for a sniper support setup, I probably wouldn't recommend running high velo because you already have a decent velocity of 650 on there. But for the sake of conversation here, we can put it on and that ups it to 936. Then we go through and we look at the SMGs, and we can drop in the Lockman sub here and put on the high velocity 9mm. We can also go through and add in the Vaznev and put on that high velocity 9mm. And if we're just simply looking at these attachments base versus one another, obviously when you build out, a suppressor and a barrel and all of these things are going to change a little bit with the range and whatnot and the control aspects. But if we look at the pure TTKs at the 300 health mark, you're going to notice that yes, clearly the Chimera and the Advancer win in the TTK battle because the rifles, they're gonna be more dominant the further you get out. that's like not a shock whatsoever. Close range, obviously, the subs are dominating as is, but in the middle here, this becomes more competitive than what this graph is going to show because of how these weapons behave. If you're more comfortable with a Lockman sub than you are, you know, an Advancer or a Vaznev versus a Chimera, despite the slower TTKs here, you might feel a difference in these gunfights because of this change. Now, it might not be something that is meant for you. Maybe you really do prefer the Advancer because it's a really solid sniper support option right now. That's fine. Like, there's no bad choice here, but really what this does is open the meta up for more options. Despite the fact that, yes, statistically, the TTK does favor the rifles, this is going to help make these subs at least competitive and usable. And if we scroll all the way down here on Sim, we can actually look at all these base weapon stats, and this velocity category is especially important. The Chimera, which we know dominates close range with its TTK, its velo sucks because you can't have high velocity on it, and you can only get so much out of suppressors, barrels, so on and so forth. It's not going to feel as great when you're fighting even 30 meters. That velocity drop is going to be noticeable. The Advancer, like we said, it was like 650 before. 936 with high velo is pretty solid, but if you're not running high velocity on a rifle from mid-range, which isn't always necessary, the Lockman sub and the Vaznev 702 now would best a default rifle and have that better feeling hit reg and consistency even in the mid-range. And then you factor in the other stats that subs are going to bring to an aggressive fight where you have more versatility in the close range as well compared to rifles, the way better ADS time, the much better tactical sprint time, the raise times here and there. Control is obviously going to be based around how you build out the weapon, but overall, you know, these are going to be a lot more aggressive options for close range and the mid-range, whereas the rifles are pretty much stuck being reliant for mid-range exclusively. And if you run into one of these subs close range, obviously it loses in those fights, both in terms of TTK up close, then also in general mobility, which is a huge factor in a setup like this, where if you're using this gun paired with a Signal or an MCPR, maybe you're double rifling in some cases with the Chimera and the Advancer, it could cost you there. So like I said, this isn't an end-all be-all. You should use, you know, the Advancer 10 times out of 10 times, or the Lockman sub now 10 times out of 10 times, but it does promote a much healthier sniper support meta and a close to mid-range meta than what we had before this update. And this addition of high velocity on the subs was not something that was mentioned and is only available through that Damon pistol and leveling that up. So some interesting info there. Also, forgot to mention it earlier when we were going through the actual loadout screen there, but if you want to check out this Lockman sub sniper support build that I've been running in ranked the past day, like I said, I've really been enjoying the gameplay here. It's feeling really nice for close range fights, but then even the mid range as well. Setup and all the tuning is there on screen. Shout out COD Community for the quick little infographic there. But yeah, if you want to use that, feel free. But that said, that is going to wrap things up. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, drop a like on it, would be really appreciated. And if you're new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button on your way out. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.